We will call the January 22nd meeting of the Caroline County Board of Supervisors to order. Our first order of business will be an invocation. Mr. Seeley.
Let us stand. Heavenly Father, look down upon us this evening and guide us through these turmoilous times throughout the country and throughout the Middle East. Help those in harm's way to be safe and help us through our daily chores here in the United States and around the world in decisions we must make as public bodies and as private individuals. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Now, Mr. Cully, I understand there are at least 2 additions to the agenda.
That's correct. We have to add closed session, economic development prospects.
Okay.
That's all. Just those.
We had one. We're adding one now. So we will have a closed meeting, probably at 7:15. We'll take it kind of during our dinner break. I think they're both really short presentations, so that may work. So I need a motion to add closed session prospects, not Mr. Cully, previously identified. That's going to be the rule. I'm sure Mr. Emerson will provide it to us. So is there a motion to amend the agenda for 2 public sessions?
So moved,
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
2 closed sessions. Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Taylor. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously, so that's where we are. Opening board comments, Mr. Black.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to give a plug. The Polar Bear Plunge, which is done by Wrights Chapel United Methodist Church in combination with St. Mary's Catholic Church, will be taking place inside Lake Landor on Saturday, February 2nd. It is a great charity. A bunch of the people in the county get together. It's to help citizens who in Caroline County who can't afford to heat their homes. I know Major Mosier and myself will be jumping in the water, so all are welcome to attend, and I'm sure the Major and anyone else would take a donation. Thank you.
Was that it, Mr. Black? Mr. Seeley?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Underwood?
Mr. Chairman, just wanted to make you aware that Mr. Taylor and I attended the inauguration on yesterday. Very, very nice event for the country. Just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Akers?
No, sir.
Mr. Taylor, would you like to tell us that you attended the inauguration too?
Well, I can certainly do that. That's not a problem. As Mr. Underwood said, it was a very nice affair and enjoyed being there. I would also like to speak briefly regarding the VACO conference, which was held back in November, which was enlightening and certainly very informative. And there have been some concerns, I guess, about board members attending the conference. And so I just prepared a very brief statement that says the VACO conference, in my opinion, is a very necessary conference. It is one avenue by which local government gets an opportunity to address important issues with the General Assembly. The various regions by which the state is divided formulates plans that support or objection to bills that would come before the General Assembly that will impact local government. The conference is important, and all counties should be represented in this process. I have served on the VACO board, and I've been a member of the Education Committee and a representative of the Region 7 caucus. And I've had an opportunity to witness the benefits of attending the conference. The 2012 conference proves to be equally as beneficial and as well organized as the previous conferences. There were workshops and meetings which provide valuable information, as well as opportunities for board members to gain insight from other localities in addressing issues that are similar to ours. I attended seminars such as local funding issues. And this seminar was conducted by the Virginia Secretary of Finance, and he dealt with a review of the state budget, talking about revenues and funding proposals. There were studies in regional cooperation, which was another seminar. Of course, the Education Committee and Region 7 meetings were among other seminars that proved to be useful. And also bringing broadband to an underserved area was another seminar that we were able to gain valuable information. So in short, I'm saying that the citizens of Caroline should be represented in all areas and have elected officials who avail themselves to the best and the most recent information. If there are further questions regarding the VACO conference or the benefits of its attendance, I would suggest that you go to the Virginia Association of Counties.com, where you can review the entire conference and you can see specifically those issues that are addressed. And certainly if you have other questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And we are going to, if you can get Mr. Culler your statement electronically, we'll post it on the county website to make sure, because that's where we're going to post Mr. Akers and mine also. On that note, that was my one opening board comment, which is really about the website, just to remind folks again that all of our county board meetings, the videotape is available on the website. The financial information we are going to discuss tonight, when we talk about the 5-year plan and things of that nature, that's on the website as of today. So those of you that check the website daily, I think you'll see some changes. That's that's the county's vehicle to get information out to all the citizens, is via our website. You'll find us making a few minor changes. We're going to look at the possibility of a major change. I'm not sure what the cost of that will be. Mr. Culley's looking at that right now, but for now you'll see little minor cosmetic changes. The biggest one, we added schools, so the school system is basically on our website now. We've got a place to put good news about the schools and put as much data out there as we can for citizens. The next step will be to add a few comment sections, but I'm sure you'll know how to comment to the board about anything you see without a special section. So that's it. We will move on to our first order of business. Mark, are you ready? The first order of business is the recognition of Mrs. Barbara Allen upon her retirement from the Caroline County Registrar's Office. I see Mr. and Mrs. Allen, and I believe I see the chair of the electoral board. So if you folks would like to come forward, who wants to say great things about Mrs. Allen first? You want me to do it, or would you like to do it? Oh, I didn't see Dana. I got to put on my glasses. Oh, no, I lost that quite some time ago. Oh, Mrs. Johnson, I didn't see her. I'll put on my glasses next time.
Okay. We would love to say nice things about Barbara.
Please.
When I first started, Roger Edwards was the registrar, and she had worked with him for 18 years. And then when Roger passed away, Barbara made sure I didn't run away. She helped me answer questions. She helped me search the law book. She knew a lot of what was already going on because she had been there a long time. And if it had not been for Barbara, in my opinion, the county and the registrar's office would have been in dire straits because Roger didn't tell people what he was doing. And we had to search the law book and the state board. And then we'd had a presidential. My very first year there, we had 6 elections, which Barbara helped me make it through all 6. And the 6th one was the 2008 presidential election. And without her staying there till 1 o'clock in the morning many nights with me, I might have run away. And then we finished that and we went into redistricting. And as you know, redistricting has taken a while, and we still have a couple of things at legislation trying to get cleared up. And she helped with that. And then she had told me when Roger died, she would stay at least through redistricting. And graciously stayed through the 2012 presidential election. And so I have only good things to say about Barbara.
Thank you. Self-you.
I've not worked with Barbara as long as Danette has, but in the short time that I've been on the electoral board, I can't begin to tell you how invaluable she has been to the county and to me. Barbara answers any question that, it's just like, I have no clue what I'm doing, Barbara, help me. And she has graciously said, even though she is retired, not going to be with us any longer, if we have any questions, she's only a phone call away. So you can't ask for a better employee for this county to represent this county than what Barbara Allen has been and will be.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
I would like to also say that the short time I've been there and worked with Barbara, she has been invaluable. She's a go-to person. She, when you have a question or a thought, she's right there with you. Most of the time she was anticipating what you were going to ask before you got there. So she has been very invaluable, and the county should really appreciate the years that she gave because she was an asset.
Well, on that note, Mrs. Allen, if you would come forward, along with Mr. Allen, because I owe him something too. I had the saying that my wife lives by a lot is, give me my flowers while I'm living, and I can enjoy them and smell them. So I wanted to take an extra time so you could really hear how people felt about you and how good you've been to work with. Because when you're sitting at home and Spencer's getting on your last nerves, you can say, well, gee, I do remember when they said nice things. So if you'll come forward, I have a resolution from the county that I'm going to read. You can come to the stage along with Mr. Allen. So our resolution, Mrs. Allen, if you'll come over here, our resolution in appreciation for your public service basically states, whereas Barbara Allen retired in November 2012 after more than 23 years of service as an employee for the county. You started at 12, I understand. Whereas her employment as an assistant registrar and deputy registrar, she distinguished herself as a loyal and valued employee, and whereas her outstanding contributions and professionalism were critical to the successful completion of countless national, state, and local elections and redistricting. And whereas, in addition to her work in the registrar's office, Mrs. Allen has been dedicated to the betterment of her native county through her participation and leadership in the American Heart Association, the Boy Scouts of America, and the Caroline Red Cross, amongst others. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Caroline County Board of Supervisors expresses its gratitude and appreciation to Mrs. Barbara Allen for her faithful service to the citizens of Caroline County and extends its best wishes to her and her family for good health, happiness, and a very long and prosperous retirement. Mrs. Allen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I've enjoyed working with everyone, and I feel like these guys up here, I helped a little bit along the way to get elected. And I've enjoyed being in the county and working for the people here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm going to give you a hug because I don't do that. So, thank you so much. I'm going to hug you. Thank you, Spencer, because I did say I owe you something, so you're wild here. Okay, we're going to do one. Ms. Allen, stand right here. We're going to do Virginia. So you stand. Spencer, you're going to be in the paper. Stand here. We're going to do one or two of you. Well, we want to be able to have a picture of you, so in case anything happens.
Now, turn around. You're
I know it's like to be in the house all the time.
right there. Okay, turn in towards your wife just a little bit, sir. Okay, then look right here. Okay, does that work? Okay, nice try.
following all of that wonderful, good story and love that we share among our fellow employees, now it's time for the treasurer's report. So I'm sure there'll be more happiness, and just tell me when I've gone too far, Beth. Oh, too far. All right, treasurer's report. Board members should have a copy of that in your packet.
I'm hoping you all got a copy of the balance sheet and the revenue report as of December 31st in your board packet. I will say that the cash as of December 31st is up slightly, the available cash over last year at this time. I judged that looking at what's been invested in the LGIP, which is where we can put money on a temporary basis, and that's up about $1 million over last year. So that's a good thing at this time. I know the questions on the sweep account between the repurchase agreements, that's still out there, and we do have a couple of months showing, so we really don't have $139 million in revenue coming in for the month. That would be good news.
Yeah, that would have been great news.
Would have been great. On the revenue report, the real estate taxes are up slightly over last year. They're about $600,000 over what we had collected at this point. That is just 92.5% of what we billed for the second half. We're in the process now of trying to follow up with taxpayers that maybe their mortgage company didn't pay their taxes. We sent out supplements. I believe that was a little over $50,000 for the new construction for 2012. The personal property taxes, however, are up about $1 million over where we were last year with the collections for the current taxes. That does represent 75.5% of what we billed for the second half. So there is still more revenue. We're proceeding now. Now the holidays are over with the DMV stops, tax liens. We've sent the file off to the Department of Taxation to try to collect any money we can from folks' income tax returns. So I think we're trying to collect the delinquents. We are, looks like we are in a good spot right now with the 2012. The local sales tax is down slightly. Looks like the fines are down a little bit, but I think that has to do with a new process that went into effect on July 1st. The courts are now sending, general district and the juvenile courts are now sending their money to Richmond, which we then get back at the end of the month. So it's causing a little bit of a timing delay.
Have you seen any service charge in that trip from Richmond to Caroline? Just other than the delay?
Just the delay. I mean, what the two courts are collecting, they send us a report on the first and the third Fridays, and then that money has been tied into what's coming back from the department.
The exact same.
Exact same amount.
Okay. Thank you.
Looks like the permits are up slightly, and the ambulance service fees that we've been collecting are about the same as they were at this point last year. I will note on page 12, the Proffers Fund is up about $100,000 in what we've collected for Proffers for the first 6 months over last year. And also looks like the availability fees are, they're right at almost $400,000 for 2012. So that's a good significant increase over last year. Those are some of the highlights. I know Ms. Hatcher's got a report later on in the agenda to discuss.
And then you fed your data to her for her presentation.
Well, we compare notes.
Kind of work together. Okay. Questions for Mrs. Hatcher? Mrs. Seeley?
The $1 million we're up in personal property is due to the rate increase, though, right?
I'm not sure where we are exactly with the assessed values as opposed to the rate increase. I mean, I think it's a combination of lots of different factors. Because the assessed values changed slightly.
Right.
and the rate increase.
Okay, but we haven't had like.
We haven't done, I mean, we haven't collected significantly more. I mean, the
Okay.
percentage is up slightly.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Akers?
Chairman, I have a question, Beth, on the motor vehicle licenses. We should have collected half of what we budgeted at this point, correct? Should have, based on the fact that the fee is charged or included in the real estate tax bill or personal property tax bill.
The motor vehicle fees are collected on the first half bill.
Okay.
So what we've collected so far, what you'll see under the registration fees on page 2
Yes.
is actually what we have charged for new decals coming in, new vehicles coming in. Commissioner's office did prepare a list, and we mailed those out in November for folks that came into the county, but they did not come in and register their vehicle, so that money is, has also been assessed.
Okay, so I'm looking at $119,000.
That's like the new vehicles, folks that have come into
Really?
the county, and some, you know, that are paying delinquent taxes, paying what was due in June.
Good, okay, thank you.
Mr. Dillon, any questions?
Yeah, just one. And I don't know if you can answer this or not, but I know prior to us going to the permanent county sticker, if an individual did not pay their personal property tax, and they couldn't buy the sticker.
Right?
But now, since the individual citizen already has the decal, if they choose not to pay the personal property tax, how would you know, how does that work? I mean, since they already have the sticker.
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing for the delinquent taxes as well as the fees. We're placing DMV stops so that they can't register their vehicle with DMV. We also send everyone's delinquent taxes that they owe at December 31st to the Department of Taxation to, you know, capture any refunds. We've got delinquent notices going out to folks in the next 2 weeks that'll be due in March, trying to, you know, notify them that they have delinquent taxes. But we're stopping them. Then if they get a new vehicle, they've got to catch all their taxes up before we'll issue them a transfer decal.
Okay, that's all I have.
Just one point. This is the second full year we've been on permanent decals, right?
This is 2013 is the second year.
Second full
We sold
year.
the first ones in 2011.
Because we did see some of what Mr. Taylor references before. Normally, we always got that personal property tax because you had to get a sticker.
Right.
Now we gave the permanent sticker, so we had to wait until their registration was due, which in some cases was 18 months
Could be.
before it got kicked back in.
Right.
So we're now capturing most of those that were
Well,
delinquent.
I think
period.
it'll catch up. The good thing with the licensing fees is that it is part of their tax. So like if somebody chose not to come in and get a sticker back under the old system, that money was just lost. Now
Right.
the fees have been billed and we can collect those along with the taxes. So we'll be getting that money whether they came in to get a sticker or not.
And then you bill for each new sticker in the June payment anyhow, whether you don't get a new actual physical decal, but you get billed for that permanent sticker every June. And sometimes it makes people think that their taxes went up a little higher, but that bill is already factored in.
Right. That $30 is factored into the personal property bill.
Thank you. Mr. Underwood, have one? Okay. All right, I think that's it. Mrs. Kern, thank you very much for your hard work. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, I believe you're next with a proposed creation of tourism zones.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Staff is coming back to the board with a renewed tourism zone concept for your consideration. You may recall last year we did bring a tourism zone ordinance to your attention. The board gave us a lot of good feedback, a lot of issues that were important to them. They made it clear that tourism zone needed to be reworked in such a way that addressed those issues. And the purpose of the tourism zone is to encourage the expansion of existing tourism-related businesses and tightly defined areas of Caroline County and designated as tourism zones by the Board of Supervisors. Further, it is only by passing a tourism zone ordinance that the county will be able to participate in a financing program made available by the Virginia Tourism Corporation. One thing we know for sure is that if we do not have a tourism zone ordinance, we will not be able to benefit from the Virginia Tourism Corporation financing program. The definition of a tourism zone, staff is presenting to the board, is very simply the acreage that composes the State Fair of Virginia and the acreage that composes the Virginia Sports Complex. No other area of the county is affected by the ordinance, and any future addition of a tourism zone will require action by the Board of Supervisors. As board members gave clear directives to staff as to what aspect of the first ordinance presented required alteration, we have addressed those and, in fact, have a list of what this ordinance will and will not do. What the tourism zone will not do is encourage or fund events like an all goods festival or any event separate from an investment in bricks and mortar. Nor will it extend to areas that are not already now specifically tourism sites with existing tourism investment. And again, only the two sites that we have listed apply. Nor is it designed to or likely favor a new recruitment over an existing business without also benefiting the existing business. For example, should the sports complex want to expand its business, or rather its infrastructure development that will make possible for greater revenue or more investment on that site, it would affect them directly. It would not bring in somebody in a different location to compete with them. Nor does it create a policy that excludes the Board of Supervisors from direct participation and full discretion to use and extend any extent of incentives to recruit a tourism business to the community or expand an existing facility. Essentially, the work we've done in industrial recruitment, you should think about it as this. It will be that kind of process, direct and immediate from the board. There is no tripwires or automatic things in this ordinance that does any kind of extending of incentives without the board's direct involvement. Nor does it alter or override existing land use planning or zoning. This is an incentive overlay instrument only, and it would not reduce the existing taxes of the current tourism entity that exists. It would only affect the additional investment. That's the way we view it at this point. Of course, if the board wanted to do something different, it's up to your discretion, but that is not a part of this ordinance. What the tourism zone ordinance will do, it will apply only to the acreage of the State Fair of Virginia and the Virginia Sports Complex. These two sites are the only two zones created. It will allow the board to address business recruitment and expansion of tourism-related industry in the same manner that it recruits industrial investment, that is, without arbitrary rules or restrictions while acting within Virginia statute, and provide the Board of Supervisors the means by which they can help lever investment that can add to the county's revenue stream through meal sales and transit occupancy taxes while creating employment opportunity for its citizens. We hadn't planned on going through this entire document because what we're looking for, essentially, most of the document is boilerplate that benefits Virginia Tourism Corporation's review of our documentation to participate in their program more than it enlightens anyone who is concerned about tourism ordinances. What we hope to do is get the board's permission to have the attorney review the ordinance and be able to bring it back for a first reading where the board would have more time to consider it directly and take it from there.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, if I could cut to the chase, the only purpose of having a tourism zone, as we're looking at it now, is to allow those entities within a tourism zone to apply for funding from the Virginia Tourism Corporation, right?
Ultimately,
or,
yes.
I mean, Virginia, yes.
That is the fundamental
Basically, that's it.
thrust of this ordinance.
So if I create a tourism zone, whoever's in the tourism zone can then apply for this money that's coming from the state somewhere without any county involvement?
Well, it's a complicated process, but that's essentially it.
Without any county involvement financially?
What the tourism VTC's program does is it dedicates sales taxes. It dedicates the sales tax the states gets, and it would dedicate the sales tax that comes from that entity from the county to repayment of essentially a loan. But it is not a loan that's obliged by the county to pay. It is the entities.
Okay, let me make sure I understand that. If, as you proposed, the State Fair and Virginia Sports Park, they're the only two that would be in this.
That's correct.
Theoretical numbers. The State Fair of Virginia generates $1,000 a year in sales tax. Theoretical, I don't even know. Mr. Carter probably knows the number. But just say they generate $1,000 a year in sales tax. That $1,000 comes to the county, right?
Right.
Under a tourism zone, and what you just explained, it sounds like that $1,000 would first go to repay a loan that they had, which would mean it would not come to the county.
That is correct. However, we would not anticipate that number to actually be very large, and we would expect that in any kind of major investment requiring the involvement of these entities, that it would benefit the county far more with the revenue we would get through additional sales and meals taxes plus real estate taxes and so forth as a part of that investment than we would surrender to dedicated to that particular return, that particular investment. However, it is the board's place to say that's a good deal or not a good deal.
Okay.
It simply gives you the tool to say that if you want to do that or not.
Yeah, if they build a new building and I get $5,000 in tax revenue, I might say that's a good deal.
You might, yes, sir.
But what you'll need to do, I don't have a problem in having a first reading. Does anybody have a problem in a first reading? Okay. What you need to do is let us know how much sales tax is at risk at both of these two entities. So
we can do that,
make
yes,
sure.
sir.
Okay. Is that fair? Question, Ms. Seeley?
I would like to see sort of a theoretical model, the numbers. Business has, let's say, $2,500 in real estate and pays $8,000 a year in sales tax. If they pick a number that they're going to add on and what they're going to do,
Right.
and then show what that net effect would be with the new building, the numbers, and the benefit.
Sure.
I think it would be a lot clearer than trying to pick out, we're not going to get this, but we're going to get that, and it's going to be a higher percentage here, but a lower percentage there. Pick a number and do the model and just lay out the numbers. I think would be very beneficial.
Yes, sir, we certainly can do that. I think, and I'll be quite candid, what we'll do is we'll show one that is favorable, obviously. We would like to do that. The point being, if it were not favorable, we wouldn't bring it to your attention. Right. And you shouldn't possibly pass it unless you had some great faith in the future.
Show us what you've got on the table theoretically so we could know. No names, just theoretically.
Yes,
Mr. Underwood, you had a question?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, my only concern is, after looking through this, I just don't see the negative impact. There has to. I mean, it looks good on paper right now, what's here, but I'd like to see a little more research, since it's hypothetical, theoretical. What if?
Well, that was the negative impact that I brought out. Is we're going to risk our sales tax if they take advantage of a loan. That's part of our negative. I'm sure there's more negative.
I think so too. My concern is I believe there's some other negatives in between the paper that I'd like to see discussed before.
If I may address that, Mr.
First
Chairman.
reading is not an issue.
The importance of this particular ordinance is that it allows the board a tool to craft the deal at once. There is not a trigger that says all their sales tax goes toward this thing that they want to do. That it is designed essentially by you however you want it to work out, depending on what you want to attract. And so it's like any other kind of business recruitment, is that you will be able to say what it is that you want to do. And that's why we designed it like this. So there wouldn't be any direct, you must do this, or you have to surrender all your sales tax, something like that. That's not a part of it. It is designed for your flexibility. It's your call.
And I kind of think we understand that. Do you have a question, Mr. Akins?
Well, I was just going to follow up on what Mr. Wilson was saying, and it's the fact that just because you create the tourism zone, if you will, does not mean that we have to approve every project that
Absolutely.
is being proposed to us. And the fact is, it's just not automatically taken out of the sales tax, taken out of our kitty and given to the property owner. It is.
No.
And these loans are not that large. I mean, it's not like there's a larger pot of money out there that is going to be utilized by these various companies. We talked about one, if you will, and it was a very small amount of money. I mean,
It was.
$50,000, something like that. And part of that is paid back through state sales tax as well, not just all county sales tax.
Right, the state does dedicate what it collects
Right.
back into it. It doubles essentially our money.
We just want to see a model. I don't think we have a problem with moving it ahead. If you could show us a model and some more data just to help your case.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
sure, we'll do that.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Parton. How are you doing? Mr. Parton's going to come up and tell us about the increases in the renewal of our employee medical and dental insurance for the next fiscal year.
It's not the fiscal year, Mr.
Well,
Mr. Chairman.
March 1 to...
Correct.
Thank you.
As Mr. Thomas said, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As Mr. Thomas indicated, the county's current plan for employee medical and dental coverage will expire on February 28th. And as the board will recall, last year the county switched from a fully insured model to a self-funded plan at the recommendation of our consultant, Digital Benefit Advisors. The county contracted with Anthem as the third-party administrator to process the claims and handle other details associated with the plan administration. And in converting to a self-funded plan, the county did opt to remain with Anthem and continue to offer the same products, an HMO 25 plan and a PPO 25 plan. Anthem has advised us that in order to retain these products for the new plan year, which again covers March 1st of this year to February 28th of 14, it will require a 15% increase, 15%. That's based primarily on our claims experience. There are some other factors there as well, but that's the primary driver. Our consultants have reviewed the proposed increase. They find it to be reasonable and recommend renewal for a new plan year. Again, under the self-funded model with no changes to the products that we offer. As in past years, staff is proposing that we keep the same cost share ratio for employee and employer, meaning that both the county's cost and the employee's cost will both go up. What we're expecting from the county, estimating on based on our experience, is that the county's costs will increase by about $240,000 over the entire year of the plan. That falls into four months in the current fiscal year, about $80,000, and the bulk of it, about $160,000 in the next fiscal year. We have about, based on our estimates, we have about half of the $80,000 for the current fiscal year. We think we can cover that. The remaining $40,000 would come from the undesignated fund balance. Dental insurance is a little different animal. That has remained fully insured. We would recommend that it continue, that we offer the same product. Last year, the board graciously agreed to pick up the entire cost increase for that. We would ask the same this year for your consideration. It is a very small expense compared to health insurance, about $1,800 additional cost. So staff's recommendations are to renew the self-funded medical plan with Anthem for the new time period with the same products offered under the same cost share agreement between the county and employees. And then to fully renew the fully insured dental plan as recommended as well. Nancy Grasso from Digital Benefits is here. She knows much more about this topic than I do and can answer any questions that you have regarding details of what we're recommending.
Thank you, Mr. Parton. And as you noted, the actual budget or the cost of this program extends 3 months in this budget cycle, 9 months in next year. You had $40,000 to cover what you thought was going to be the increase. It went up a little bit more, so that's why you're asking for 80 this fiscal year, and then 160 next fiscal year. So that's our health insurance basically increase. We can kind of discuss it and debate it, but at the end, we're going to probably have to have health insurance for our employees. So, any questions? Doesn't seem like we have any questions, but since we have Ms. Grasso here, can you tell us why our rate went up 15% when it seems like that's a large increase for a small locality?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. There's quite a few contributing factors into the health insurance program and the increase. And I want to start by saying that when we went into a self-funded program, the hope is that when you go into a self-funded program, you take the money that you were paying previously to Anthem, and we put it into this bank account, and over the course of the year, we kind of spend down the bank account. We're actually performing relatively well in that account. The problem is that the plan year is not over. We need to make decisions before the plan year is completely over and before all the claims are paid out of the account. So I may not be answering your question, but I promise I'll get there. So in May or June, we may have a claim come in that really happened in January or February. So we need to make sure that we don't move any of that excess fund in order to make sure that we can cover all the claims for the whole year. So the anticipation is that possibly next year we'll have excess money to help offset any renewals. Having said that, we can't bank on that for sure because we don't know what the claims are. So what we're doing is we're anticipating what our claims are this year, dragging it out to a rolling 12 months, and then kind of breaking it out monthly. There's a few factors. The reason that this part of the fiscal year is a smaller proportionate amount than next year is because we do have some of the health care, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act that's coming into play. And I know that there's kind of been some public rhetoric that says that this is the greatest thing, but it is going to cost you some money to do that. And the reason that it's going to cost you money to do that is a few. A few of the contributing factors are there is a new 2.9% tax, period, end of story. You're going to pay that on your health plan, and that's going toward research and transparency. There's a 1.5% increase of premium for the preventive care for women's health, which kind of went into effect and will hit your renewal this year. And then the preventive care benefit that allows all people to go to get all their preventive care for free without any co-pays, deductibles, or co-insurance also contributes to that factor. Not only are we as a company now spending the money that the co-pay used to cover, we're also encouraging people to get more services. So our utilization in that area has gone up. So all in all, the reason we really think that your claims themselves will only go up about 6%, which is a percent higher than inflation, the inflationary rate of medical care. And it's really because Anthem isn't collecting that money and keeping it. If there's an excess surplus, we get to keep it. But I want to make sure we fund what we need to spend. I don't want to underfund this account and then end up not having enough money to do it. So I think that what we're trying to do is we're trying to foreshadow or foresee what those expenditures will be next year with this Affordable Care Act and the increase in the utilization and count it in. The hope is that if we can get this 15% and put that into the budget, next year we should be able to take a flat increase because we should be able to use the surplus from this year. That's the plan.
So the 15%,